All right. First, I would thanks for having me, but I would disagree with my colleague. I think there is plenty of reason to be concerned. And it's not so much on the Chinese side. They have prepared. Your question is about, these comprehensive economic partnerships, the Belt and Road Initiative, and how they're working for China. China's number one trade partner now is ASEAN. And its trade is moving increasingly away from the United States and also Europe, and they're willing to trade with countries that want to trade with them. And you can see no better example of that than Chanche Port, where it's now a breath of fresh air. Finally, the west coast of South America has a port where it does not have to be beholden to the U.S., especially given Donald Trump's threats to take over the Panama Canal. He doesn't seem to be aware that the Monroe Doctrine was negated, but that doesn't matter to Donald Trump. He's not about policy. He's not about ideology. He's simply about this idea that he's going to get the best deal and he's going to try any which way he can to do that. I do think there is cause for concern, as I said earlier, because in the United States, costs are going to go up. 70% of
Sir,
the
you disagree with Mr. Frank Mosmar because you think, from your own perspective, that China is not the main issue in this problem, or China is not the core issue of this problem at this point? And of
yes,
course, Professor Mosmar can answer you back.
well, let me finish first. All
Okay.
right. My issue is that 70% of the Americans believed prior to the election that they were living paycheck to paycheck, that inflation had eroded their standard of living. Right now, what Donald Trump wants to do two things. First, he wants to raise tariffs. The U.S. imports $3.8 trillion worth of goods. If it doesn't import it from China, it'll import it from somewhere else. He's also taken aim at all countries that have a trade surplus with the U.S. So it's not just China involved. So you start adding up what those tariffs will mean, and you're adding another almost $1 trillion to the pay tab of American middle class people who feel that they can't afford that. The second thing he wants to do is he wants to devalue the dollar. He believes that the U.S. is too expensive and that by devaluing the U.S. currency, it'll make it more competitive. The problem with that is that financially, with the huge debt that the U.S. has, that isn't going to work very well. So my concern is that this is going to affect the American people very heavily. It will definitely affect the world, but definitely more Americans than anyone else. And you'll probably see a change in his tune at least 6 months in when people start complaining